this guitar. But it matches my eyes, I think. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Huh. Hey, I just had an idea today, guys. I was playing around with some of my other toys. Like, aside from guitar, I like to mess around with pianos and stuff. I have a piano, like a digital piano that I've had for years, and I have this cool little synthesizer. So it's kind of like hold down the rhythm with my left hand and then play little leads with my right hand. And yeah, so I really suck at it. You know, I'm really not good at it, but it's fun. And I was thinking today, I was like, you know what, this is probably how like beginner guitar players are thinking, or this is how beginner guitar players might sound if they're trying to like solo with along with backing tracks, or they're trying to like improvise in scales, you know. So I'm basically just gonna like show you how I do this on the piano, and it's gonna be really crappy. There's gonna be a lot of mistakes, you know, but I want to show you my thought process. And I think it's going to make things very, very clear, you know, like what the objective is. Because a lot of people aren't even clear on the objective when it comes to the guitar, you know. They don't even know. They're like trying to use the cage system to learn scale patterns, or they're trying to learn their modes as, like, they don't know what the objectives are. You know, this is a big thing. I'm like, make sure you know what it is you're trying to do. So it's going to become a lot clearer when we get to the piano. Let's do that now. All right, so I'm going to be doing all the leads with my right hand here. So this is going to kind of be like the soloing aspect. You know, this is where you're doing all your pentatonic scales and your diatonic scales and your cage systems. And people think modes for fretboard patterns or whatever, even though there's nothing to do with modes whatsoever. So there's no need to talk about modes, but I just brought it up because that's what guitar players always talk about. Modes, modes, modes. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So this is what that's going to be doing right here, right hand. All right, so left hand is going to be doing the rhythm. This is the backing tracks that you find on YouTube, or this is your bass player and your keyboard player and all that stuff in your band. All right, so lead guitar player, rhythm section. So I'm just going to be playing just bass notes, really. I'm just going to be playing an E, and then a D, C. All right, so this is a very, very common progression. This is a 6-5-4 progression. This represents an E minor chord, so this represents a D major chord. This represents a C major chord. So that's like the Stairway to Heaven progression. Or it's All Along the Watchtower. All right, so it's a whole bunch of different songs, but it's a super common chord progression. Anyway, so those are the three chords. We have E minor, we have D major, we have C major. This is the key of E minor. So the first thing we want to do is say, okay, well, minor key, what is my relative major? That way I can figure out how many sharps and flats and all that stuff. So E minor has the relative major, G major. For every minor key, there's a relative major key. For every major key, there's a relative minor key. So G major, what's my G major scale? Start on the note G. I like that sound. It's my G major scale. That's the key that has one black key in it. It's an F sharp. So there's no F, there's an F sharp. Every key has a certain amounts of white notes and black notes. There's only 7 notes per key. Each key has a specific combination of white keys and black keys. The key of C major or the key of A minor is all white keys. So the key that we're playing in here, which is the key of G major / E minor, this is the one that has 6 white keys and 1 black key. All right, so playing this over 2 octaves. All right, so with that information, I can now solo over the whole entire piano because I know what my key is. I just have to use all the white keys except for this one, the one that comes before the set of 3 black keys. and then instead replace it with this black key. All right, and technically, since this is the key of E minor and not G major, since there's not even a G major chord present in the chord progression, if you wanted to practice your scale, you may want to start on the note E instead of starting on the note G. So instead of doing this, you might want to start on the note E, which is the 6th note. And now that's just the home note of the scale. That's your starting note, if you will. Alright, so that's my E minor scale. It's still the same thing. It's still all the white keys, but then I just don't play this one, which is the note F, and then I play that one, which is the note F sharp. So with that given information, I can now noodle along the whole entire piano. So this isn't going to be amazing, so don't have any high expectations, but here goes. Alright, I know my piano fingering technique is absolutely disgraceful. I'm not a piano player. This is just me noodling around with my toys that I have other than my guitar, and this is how it goes, you know? So anyway, but as you heard, it didn't sound absolutely horrible because I was playing in key. Everything I was playing was the correct scale notes. I was just avoiding this one. This was an out-of-key note. This was an in-key note. All of the other white keys are in-key notes, so I'm playing in key. All right, so the next thing, maybe I don't want my lead playing to sound so sad, you know? This is going to make people cry or want to go to sleep or whatever, you know? It's so sad. So let's make it not so sad. So instead of playing the full 7-note diatonic scale, which in this case we're calling the E natural minor scale, all right, now we're just going to play the pentatonic scale. We'll just play these 5 pentatonic scale notes. All right, so even if you don't know this, you can always figure it out. You can hear it because the pentatonic scale has a distinct sound. So instead of playing this full 7-note scale, E and E is repeated, so, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, those are the 7 notes of your scale, and then you're back at the octave again. So instead of playing all 7 notes, let's try and hear what the pentatonic scale sounds like within that, you know, let's listen for it. That doesn't sound like the pentatonic scale. That sounds like the pentatonic scale, doesn't it? All right. Let's keep going through the scale and see if they sound pentatonic-y or not. Sounds pentatonic-y. Still sounding very pentatonic-y. That doesn't sound pentatonic-y. Now it's starting to sound sad and melodic or whatever, however you want to describe it. So that note doesn't seem like it goes. There we go. Sounds pretty pentatonic-y to me. I just have to remember to cross over there. All right. So yeah. So let me try noodling around. So I can again use the whole entire piano keyboard now. There's no 5 pentatonic positions on the keyboard because, you know, I just have to know, like, just don't play that note that's not part of the pentatonic scale for this key, and avoid this F sharp note. You know, avoid the that one extra black key that's part of this key or whatever. So yeah, let's see how this goes. All right, so that was a little rough. I don't know my pentatonic scale, obviously, quite as well as a newbie guitar player might not know their pentatonic scale quite as well either. So they're going to be, kind of fumbling, kind of, not knowing the keys to hit. And then they kind of get in a groove. They're like, oh, these three notes sound nice. Or maybe these notes. Maybe they sound nice together. So you noodle in little box patterns. This is how, I don't know. You're just listening for the little noodle spots. You're playing around with the scale notes. Sometimes you're going to hit some bad notes, sometimes not. But I'm just trying to mimic how a beginner guitar player might go about with this stuff. All right, so the next thing would then be, now that we've determined that instead of playing the full 7-note key scale, or 7-note diatonic scale for this key, we just play the 5-note pentatonic scale for this key, and it makes things sound less sad, less whatever. It just makes it sound a little bit more pentatonic-y. It just has a pentatonic sound. That's the way I describe it. Others may describe it as less sad, whatever. Hopefully you get the point. It has a different sound to it when you take those 2 notes away. Anyway, next step would be adding the blue note. All right, so the blue note is an out-of-key note, but it's the most commonly used out-of-key note that there is. So many, many, many times guitar players will say, you know what? 7-note scale, too melodic for me, too sad, I don't like it. I'm just going to go with the pentatonic scale, but I'm always going to make sure I add that blue note to every single one of my pentatonic positions. Piano, we don't have to worry about the pentatonic positions. We just have to figure out where that blue note fits in. And once we find it, it works in every single octave. So let's find it. So we know our pentatonic scale. So somewhere in there is that blue note. So it's known as the flat 5. That's what the blue note is. So that's not it. There it is. That sounds familiar. Alright, so I know my pentatonic notes. And then I just have to remember to add that, and that's my blue note. So now I can noodle around in the pentatonic scale or the blue scale, or kind of just use them interchangeably with one another. So let's see how that goes. Again, I obviously don't know my blues scale all that well, but that's kind of like how a beginner guitar player might go about learning the blues scale for the first time on the guitar. So that's what you can kind of expect it to sound like. That's the sound we're going for here. Finally, since I've been on this caged kick for the last few weeks or whatever, I just want to talk about where the cage system fits into all this. So far, nothing that I've talked about here, if we were to take all of this stuff and apply it to the guitar, nothing that we've talked about here has anything to do with the cage system. We just did scales. I did the diatonic scale, which was the E natural minor scale in this context. I did the pentatonic scale, which was the E minor pentatonic scale in this context. And then I did the blues scale. I just added the blue note to the pentatonic scale. Cage doesn't have anything to do with scales. If I wanted to take this and put these onto patterns on the guitar, caged is not the answer. Caged is for the chords. So far in my soloing, I haven't even worried about what the underlying chords are. My soloing hand was only concerned with the fact that I was in the key of E minor, or the key of G major, the parent key of G major, the key of E minor, whatever key you want to call it. I was in the key that has these notes in it. That's all I cared about. I did not pay attention to the chords, therefore, as a guitar player, there's no need to even consider the cage system at all. Anyway, now in my soloing, I want to start paying attention to those chord tones. So when this chord's happening, When this chord's happening, when this chord's happening, back to the D chord, back to the E minor chord. Alright, so now I'm just going to do what I would call layer 2 soloing. So I'm only going to focus on the chords. I'm going to forget about those scales for now. I don't care about the diatonic scale. I don't care about the pentatonic scale. I don't care about the blues scale. I am only focused on layer 2 right now. This is pure cage system focus if I was playing guitar. So, actually I just kind of did that, but I'll just do it again anyway. All right, I'm messing up here a lot, and if piano players out there are probably like, they're probably cringing pretty hard by the horrible piano technique I have here. I swear I want to get piano lessons one day, I promise, but I haven't done that yet. Or I had a few piano lessons, but obviously not technique lessons because I'm doing all kinds of weird things with my hands. Anyway, you get the point. So I'm trying to just play the arpeggios, or just play the chord tones, or just apply the cage system, or just focus on layer 2. Now I'm just going to try to mix it all together. I'm going to mix the scales together, which is the layer 1. And then I'm going to also try and focus on chord tones, which is the layer 2 stuff. So let's see how this train wreck's going to go. Alright, that was rough. There you go. That's how a newbie guitar player would sound trying to put all this layer 1 and all this layer 2 stuff together. So hopefully you can understand why I suggest to kind of learn the layer 1 stuff, which is all the scale stuff, which for guitar players requires learning a bunch of connecting scale patterns. Learn all the layer 1 stuff separately from the layer 2 stuff, which is all the chord stuff, cage system, which again has a bunch of shapes and patterns and stuff that move around as the chords do, which is a whole new level of complication. Level 1, super complicated, or layer 1 or whatever, the scale stuff is super complicated. It's going to take you years. Layer 2 is also super complicated. It's going to take you more years. Putting it all together is going to take you even more years. But, you know, if you're kind of jumbled up and you're like, don't even know what it is your goal is, then it's going to take you even more years. So hopefully this video helped to save you some years. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.